everyone. Welcome to Let's Get Literary. Today, I'll be sitting down with Lisa Caprelli, author of the Unicorn Jazz book series. Lisa's books promote kindness and individuality, and together we'll talk about the importance of literacy and the power of doing good, being creative, and being yourself.
Author Lisa Caprelli has come a long way from her days as a painfully shy little girl. Here she is sharing her books, inspiring kids to believe in themselves and embrace their differences. It's something she struggled with at their age.
Think of the quietest one, that was me, and here I am up singing, dancing. It was because of learning, it was because of books, it was because of expanding my mind that I was able to do that. I was shy. I always say my only voice was on paper.
Her love of writing has turned into her purpose. Now, an author of 15 books, she inspires young people with Unicorn Jazz, a unicorn with a musical note for a tale.
Unicorn Jazz, I'm so glad you're my friend.
And her animal friends, all different and unique.
Unicorn Jazz has a friend in all the stories called Wolf the Crow, someone who believes in her. I had people that believed in me, starting from my grandmother when I was a little girl into adulthood. And if it wasn't for those people that believed in me, I don't think I would be here today.
Lisa lives in California now, but this Bel Air grad was born and raised in El Paso, as is the illustrator of these colorful images, Davy Villalobos.
What is it about you that not everybody else has?
Teachers and librarians say the characters' messages are resonating with students.
Children will come up with glasses like I wore, shy, and say, I'm the shy one. And then I often say, do you like to write? And they're like, yeah. I say, keep writing. Just be yourself.
Lisa now has her own publishing company and recently helped 3 El Paso teenage writers get published. It's a busy life of school visits, writing, and traveling. What made her different is now helping her succeed.
So let's welcome our guest today, Lisa Caprelli. Welcome, Lisa. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Likewise, tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you into writing children's books.
I loved writing when I was 7 years old, all the way back to first grade. My first grade teacher, she gave me a book, Danny and the Dinosaur, The Last Day of School. And I was hooked on Sid Hoff's books. I read all of them. I would read them cover to cover, backwards and forwards many times. And then, you know, in doing children's books today, I realized that children want something they can relate to, something that they can look at the art, resonate with, have imagination and creativity. And so that's what the joy of making children's books has done, is going back to my younger self. Like, what would be the books that I would want to have in front of me if I was a little girl again.
How did you come up with the concept Unicorn Jazz? And I just want to say, I love that her tale, at least to me, resembles a musical note.
It totally is. And I love that you get that. And so when I, go in front of children and schools, I point that out to her musical note for a tale. So my background was PR and branding and marketing, over 25 years in building companies and thinking the vision through. So when I knew I wanted to make a children's book series, and I want to have many, we're working on the 4th one coming out soon. And I knew that branding and what the character is going to look like, people love unicorns all over the world. It's a global iconic figure. Kids of all age wear them, men, women love unicorns and celebrate. So I wanted something that was different. So when I spoke to my artist, Davy Villalobos, who's the illustrator of our books, I told him I want something that's different. She's the first story, she's shy, she feels like she doesn't belong, but her special talent is she sings. And so we put that in, that musical note kind of shows who she is, and that's what makes her unique. And in the first story, it's really celebrating that we're all unique and we're supposed to be, and to celebrate those differences. And so we trademarked Unicorn Jazz. So kind of like Hello Kitty, you can only have one, the same with Mickey Mouse. So that was also important to me, was to make Unicorn Jazz very unique, that people would recognize in the characters and all the amazing things we have coming out. We want to do a cartoon series. All these things were important with each character.
So tell me a little bit about your writing process. You had a vision that you wanted to make a children's book series that talked about the importance of kindness and creativity and individuality. And then what did you do? From point A, with all of your background, to holding the book in your hand, the stuffed animals. I know you have a children's book.
Yes.
Tell me about that process.
So So the first book that sets the stage for her and who she is Unicorn Jazz. And it's really, kind of a timeless story. And then we did Being Happy, which was more full page art, not so much of a story. I always like the Love Is quotes and things that you can draw from. I couldn't use Love Is because it was taken. So I thought, well, love is being happy. So each of these pages show what being happy is, which it could be many things. It could be like, what is your being happy? Dancing with friends, playing make-believe. So when I show kids, again, the art that goes into each page, I tell them, what do you see on this page? And then I describe to them when I was little, for example, on this page, how being happy was playing outdoors with my cousins. And we made up a silly game called Wonder Woman, Godzilla, and all that. And that's us as my childhood. So I invite them to be inspired by their own present childhood and draw and realize that all that matters, save, for parents to save the work of their children's, papers when they're young. I wish my parents saved my stuff. Who knew what that would have been like, right?
Right. I try to take photos of my children's artwork and then save it on the computer. This way, at least I don't feel like I'm completely throwing it away.
No, I think that's a wonderful thing. Even if you digitize it, which you could do thanks to Facebook today, you can make that your photo album. And then we did I See You, Choosing Kindness. And so this story was very important. Again, it goes back into my childhood somewhat when I drew from experiences, or I was teased as a little girl for wearing glasses. And it was, I was shy, kind of like Unicorn Jazz, even though she has her own personality. And so I wanted to, again, show kids that through these animal characters, how they can make choices and that kindness is a choice. And, I'll point out just some art here. Like here's Billy Bob, the butterfly bully. We made the butterfly the bully in the book, which is kind of the tiny character, obviously. And so he says, you look different, nerd. And it affected his feelings, of course, as it would. And, we have some nice, beautiful art there, nuggets of humor that adults would appreciate. So this is a page I focus on a lot. The bully said, look who's back. It's Mr. Four Eyes. And he said, Wolf the crow says, you can call me names. Glasses are cool. What I wanted to say was, look at you, your socks don't match. So this is a thought bubble, which I think we all have in day-to-day life. Things that we want to say, but we hold ourselves sometimes back. And that's okay. That's a thought bubble. Again, when I was little, I think as a first grader, if I would have known something like this, that could have helped me, and so the books do have a lot of social emotional learning in them. And so there's his socks that don't match. See how cute that is? And he said, but instead I chose kinder words. I like my new glasses because now I can see your colorful socks. So in my household, we refer to that page a lot, like what I wanted to say, but what I actually said. And I think in life, in communication, that's part of it. We can use stories as examples and art for kids so that they can grow up and it's a teaching platform really, but stories are meant to entertain and they do entertain as well.
Do your children have input in the books you write?
My children are grown. So I have a 29-year-old who's a nurse. I have a 14-year-old boys. I always wish I had girls, but now guess what? I'm around girls all the time too. I would say that my 14-year-old, he's a YouTuber. And he was not a fan of the unicorn, even though some boys are, I'm not, and I never forced that on anyone. So this third story, we introduced Trezipki, the zebracorn, named after my son, and he plays basketball in the fourth book called The Thing I Do, which is going to be out very soon. It's actually complete. We're just putting it together and doing a book launch. He's the main character. And so my son had no problems about being that, So it's interesting that I still found a way to draw from people I know, my children. And, in the song, we have a song called The Thing I Do. I hope you've seen it. If not, it's on YouTube and 30 music platforms. We got 19 kids and adults together to do the song and marry it all together and do kind of like Zoom-like 19 people. It was so much fun. We did it recently. And so my son gave us 7 words in where he's dribbling the basketball, and his line was that he likes to play basketball and it's really fun. And he's like, that's all I give you, because he's a teenage, more cool kid kind of thing. I took it. I said, I'll take those 7 words.
How has feedback been, and what are some of the memorable stories or responses you've received?
So when I was going to schools and doing school assemblies, reaching hundreds to sometimes thousands of kids throughout a school day, depending on how big the school was, that's when I love what I do. Obviously we write children's books to be read in front of children, but to see the connection live with the child, to see that your books are in the library probably forevermore, right? We hope. They're timeless messages. That's the best part of my life, to go into the school. I will never, as much as it could be energy draining because you're giving your best stuff to the kids sometimes over and over again, kind of like this interview, I have to do it over and over again, and giving the best of myself through the stories. I would do it again and again as many times. And what has happened is people, want the books, they buy the books. That's why we're authors. We want to sell our books. They buy the plushes. But when I tell them the behind the scenes of the story, which is the team that has come together. So I stress that an author and illustrator came together for my book. Sometimes it's both. In this case, there was 2 people. But behind the scenes, the feedback I get from friends, family, and the story, and making it connect. So first I write the story. I typically write it on a Google Doc. That's what I do, because I'm virtually going to share the story with different people that I know can have valuable feedback. And it's so important as an author that you want to take that critique. Some people can be sensitive to that. I welcome it. If someone questions something and they don't understand it, a child isn't going to understand it. So we go back, we work on the art. That there's something called show don't tell, where the art's supposed to tell the story, more than the words, so we've gotten better with where the next book, the thing I do, it's not even a lot of words, a lot of art. It took a long time compared to my first book, where it is a little bit more wordy with the story. There's also a song that goes with this book. So again, as an author and illustrator, we've developed and grown as well. And I think that children can see that over time too, as we come out with more book series. But going in front of the schools and reaching the children has been very valuable. And right now with social distancing, being in front of schools through virtual author visits, that's still connecting with them. And the cool thing about that is that you could do it anywhere in the world. A lot of people can be invited in, and teachers come on in, the principals, because they love the messages, the behind the scene of what we've done. And we're starting a STEAM Dream Team, touching on science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, where myself, another author, an illustrator who illustrates Danielle Steele's children's book, and then a teacher, Shannon Anderson, and then my husband, Dr. Chris Herzik, who happens to have a marine biology background. We're going to be able to reach schools coming in the new school year. So that the silver lining is that wouldn't have happened with all of this going on and people having to shift and change, as I'm sure you have as well.
I think it's so interesting hearing you talk about the collaboration. Of course, in the beginning, it's expected, right? Like you said, you have the author, the illustrator, the editor, the publisher. But during the pandemic, we as well have shifted gears slightly. We started this podcast because we weren't able to go directly into schools. We would actually donate books, and when possible, go into the school building, do an activity with the group, and then give them the books as a gift. But we wanted another way to interact with our supporters, and we collaborated, and I've met so many interesting authors, especially during this podcast and all over the world. We were just doing a podcast with an author in Africa. It was so interesting, and seeing everyone come together. I think that it's unfortunate that it kind of takes something like this to bring us together, but seeing everybody come together in all different fields is really beautiful. I've worked with so many people throughout the last 2 years since our nonprofit established. How has technology helped you enhance your audience?
I think for me, I grew up, my children, having children and being interested in what, YouTube, and interested in things like Minecraft. I may not have wanted to do it for a long time with them, but it definitely helped me. Like, I already knew Zoom, and I knew in the beginning that those who had the upper hand in understanding technology and how to use it were going to catapult. So instead of just doing children's story times, which I do, like you see on Facebook Live story time, I thought, well, how can I reach a bigger audience? Because now my author visits temporarily were taken away, the in-person. I had so many lined up. So it was a bummer, like everybody, for things that got changed. But for me, the glass half full, the silver lining was I said to my husband, I could do a show. So we have a show that streams on YouTube, Facebook Live. It's called The Thing I Do. We're working to get it on a podcast as well. And we have visions to take it to, you know, streaming like Amazon, Apple, why not? We learned a lot through that. It actually brought more people together because I started reaching out to parents, friends who have kids, send in your video content for the show. So pretty much I kind of describe it as a new Sesame Street where it's modern content, all taken from different creative minds. And we edit that down each video to, you know, 30 seconds to 2 minutes. Like we reached out to kid influencers, musicians who are kids, Broadway performers. And we, you know, so now we are growing our audience, and it still ties into the Unicorn Jazz message and mission of sharing kindness, being unique. The Thing I Do, the next book, is really celebrating the thing you do, and that we all need each other to rise, and we all need each other to be better together. And before this happened, I've always given credit to the amount of people that help. I acknowledge them in my book, website. It's just so many people to name now that I always say, you know who you are. I make a point to pay it forward. So I've always tell children, you know, you grow up with someone in your class that is a shy one, or someone that maybe, you know, be kind to everyone, because you never know. Lorraine may grow up to be the principal. Guess what? She was. And I got into my schools right away. I had sisters that were in education. And so being kind along the way, which is people knew me for and paying it forward with any, you know, things that you can do in life. I often say kindness is a free currency. So give that currency away, because you never know how it's going to help you forward. And it's so much to this point where I have built so many incredible connections. I am so thankful and blessed in doing that, in moving to California from Texas over 20 years ago. I knew no one when I moved here. The odds were against me. Everyone said you weren't going to make it, Lisa. I came here with almost nothing, like $100 type story. And I just came with perseverance, will. I knew I was kind. I knew that I could learn. I knew I could help others. And it was really, that was the foundation of meeting people and saying, can you help me with this? This is my mission. Just like, you know, you have to ask all the time. Most of the time people want to help you. And what I would do is I paid attention to what they did. What did they like? And I have this memory, a Rolodex in my brain of what people do and like. And so when I come across someone, I'll say like, oh, you need to talk to Leslie. This is what she does. And I remember that. So it's not always just about like me. Like I never want that. I always want to give credit and help everybody who does the hard work of doing their thing to get their message out there and ultimately, you know, be in the children's space. It's what is the greater good of everyone. And I really believe that children really deserve happiness. Like if you were a child, would you really care about this pandemic situation? I mean, you ultimately want to be happy, right?
I think you've touched on so many important points. First of all, collaboration is key, but more so than that, the will to want to succeed. I think that's so crucial. I think everyone always writes these days, it's who you know. If you don't know someone, it's not going to happen. And I have to tell you, David and I are the only two people behind the entire organization, besides a couple of high school volunteers that help us. Yeah. We are almost 100,000 books collected. We're in all 50 states. We're international. We've received a few accolades nationally, featured in all these national magazines and media outlets. I didn't know anybody. Like you said, we had this dream, we had this will, and we worked really hard. And I think a few other things I want to just talk about that you said, asking for help. Asking for help is something a lot of us are too proud for.
Oh, yeah.
And if you don't ask for help, chances are you're not going to go as far as you could. Right. Exactly. And something else you had said was really keeping a mental Rolodex of people in your life who are amazing and are inspiring and can be productive. And even if aligning person A and person B doesn't benefit you, making that connection, A, is a wonderful thing to do and a selfless thing to do. But B, you never know how someone can remember that to then come back to you and say, hey, you were really wonderful and you helped connect me to this great person and we've accomplished so much. And we in turn want to work with you to make your vision and your mission come to succeed. I think for anyone who's listening, whether you're looking to write a book, build a nonprofit, start a business, it's all about making that circle of people who you can help and who can help you. And kindness is the only way to make it happen, because if you're out for yourself, people will see it right away, and
Yes.
people will not want to come forward and help you and collaborate with you and
Right.
give you their time.
Right. Yeah, and there's always a way to help someone as young as you are, as not as many followers or a lot. I mean, just a quick idea is if I sent you 10 Instagram or Facebook followers and you said, tagged it and posted it on my, social media, you would see that and you'd be like, wow, that's really cool, Lisa, to do that. Like, how hard would it be? And I make it a mission to always do that with my social media, recognize others. I love interviewing people myself like you do. And I'll tell you, when I get to interview people and do blog stories about them, because the writer in me, they love it. And they're like, that's me. I go, that's you. That's the you I interviewed. And those things, pay it forward for a long time, where I could, reach out to that person 5 years later and, hey, can you help me out with this? Or, of course, Lisa, what can I do for you? So, the helping is a currency. Helping and kindness will take you far in life. So, I'm proof that I came from nothing, and the help I gave, and the kindness I gave. And again, not everyone gives it back. We know that, but still be that in you, the core of who you are. And, I'm not perfect either. I'm sure there's times maybe I could be more kind or versus like, I'm like, oh my God, I have so many things going on today. And, like many people, I just sometimes need to shut off the social media and regroup onto what my purpose and focus is. But it's nice to live by example and teach that. And I feel that when I reach children, they see that team effort. And the librarians and teachers always say that that they like that I share the behind the scenes. When I played a song, I go, look, that girl, she was the voice of this. And we're showing studio, photos of the team to do one song. And, it goes on and on and on. It's never not going to stop. And it's a point where I sometimes need a vision board when I tell my husband, so-and-so is helping. And he's like, I don't know who that is, Lisa. You talk to so many people. So one thing I started doing for the show is I started doing these like paper doll puppets of people who come on and help. This is a team member of mine, Amanda. He's William. He does puppets on the show. So Shaylin is a regular. Ezra, the mom, Natalia. So on and on. And so now I'll tell my husband, like, this is who it is, being visual creatures that we are. And there's just so many where I can't even keep up with making the paper dolls of who I have to thank.
I think that showing children the connection and the deeper meaning behind the books will always engage them more. I mean, think about it. When you watch a show and you watch the behind the scenes, or you see pictures on social media of the actors working with the makeup artist, and what we do, it's hard for us because we kind of like the middleman, right? So I try very hard to get my book donors to take photos of their process. So if someone's doing a book drive, we just had Girl Scouts do it. I begged them, take photos, because I want to show what you are doing, so that when we post something, it's not just, oh, I saw a post and they got books. Yeah. Who did they get books from?
People like that.
Who is this 10-year-old collecting books? And then on the other end, I always encourage my recipients to send us a letter showing that you got the book. Show us the children who received the books, not because it's me. And like you said, Lisa, not because it's you, but because somebody in California donated books that are now in Oklahoma. I want these people to understand that their books are going somewhere. You want children to see that there's a team behind this book they're reading. And once they see that it does take a team, and it does take a village, I think it helps them understand it more, right?
Yeah, so true. Yeah, when I go to the Children's Hospital local here, I do story time, and I have authors that give me books, and I take pictures of them to show them. And then I get other people, kindness begets more kindness, reaching out to me that says, next time you go, let me know. I want to send you some books as well. So, it's not, that's why I would love to talk to you offline, is that's not my main mission, but that's a give that I do. And I have found that, you know, children's authors, you know, we would love to give back and give kindness to children, especially in hospitals.
That's awesome.
So, you know, again, we volunteer our time, and there's times that I'm like, I'm here, I'm not making any profit from being here. No, sometimes nobody even knows I'm there, because, you know, there's with kids guidelines on photos and what you can take or not. And every time I go, even, you know, I'll give a story where I read to just one child that day in the room they had. You know, I wish there was more, and they do broadcast their story time at the Children's Hospital, Orange County. They have TVs. So sometimes you go in like all the rooms, you know, you can't see them face to face. So it just depends on the platform of each hospital. But I got to touch one life in that room when I was doing story time. The mom was with her, and the child, you know, had a form of cancer. And, you know, and she's telling me all this. I can never ask, right? It's against guidelines, and I know that etiquette, but she's telling me, so that's okay. She hears the story of Unicorn Jazz, the first one, where the mom, you know, sings to her in Unicorn Jazz and believes in her in the story. And the mother is just kind of tearing, because she's, you know, seeing herself with the story and the song, the Unicorn Jazz friendship song, "Be happy with your light, you are gold, you shine so bright," sung better by the singers. And she wanted it. She goes, "How do I find the song? How do I find your book?" Well, I said, I'm here, I'm going to give you a book. I signed her daughter's name. She took a picture, and it just made her day. And I was like, I got goosebumps just knowing that, wow, you know, so she went and she posted on her Instagram, which was fine. And so then she connected with me on Instagram, and said she sent me video of her daughter loving it, and the song and everything. And that moment was so priceless. So every time I go and do that give, I realize, like, I never know, like, you know, I'm a mom. We don't know what can happen with children, and we want our children to be healthy and loving and happy as much as we can. So it's just a mom connecting with another mom. I just happened to have the medium that I had Unicorn Jazz, which was a story that she could hold, you know, sacred and share some kindness in the situation she was in.
I love that. Tell me about your writing space. From what I'm guessing, it's like super bright, and there's music and there's candles. What is your writing space like?
You know, I have many spaces. I could write in the car. I could write at the airport. On the beach. I live 5 blocks from the beach. Very grateful. I sometimes, my thinking, I think I do a thinking process first. I don't have I never have had writer's block. I will say that. I don't understand it, because I sometimes have too much to write. I have to slow it down. I wrote Unicorn Jazz story in about a week, which was, I can't even do that today on some things. But it needed editing. So that one, then when I wrote Being Happy, that was also kind of easy, because, you know, it was more, like I said, like Love Is pages full of art. And then the ICU took more time, because it was really a story about kindness and going back into time, where the crow tells Unicorn Jazz, you know, his backstory. So, and again, it has to make sense. The more you actually do write a story, the art and pictures have to make sense. And I get really picky about that. And sometimes I'm sure my artists wish that I just knew the story, you know, perfectly. And sometimes the art comes out, and then I change it. I get inspired, and it changes. And then with the 4th book, The Thing I Do, I wrote that last November in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. in the morning. I was in El Paso, Texas. My dear grandmother went to heaven. And it was that night that I wrote The Thing I Do. And I'm sure I got inspired from the love in the family around me. And my grandmother was a very powerful person who believed in me, which is what Unicorn Jazz is about, is her friend Wolf the Crow, who's up here. He believes in her in the first story, and he stays in all the books. And his name is Wolf. And he says in the first story, yes, I know I have a name that a dog should have, but I'm happy to have that name. And I did that on purpose. Also, my cat's name is Wolf. So again, drawing from different things in my life. So my writing space is really in here. So it's wherever this goes is where my writing space is. Because of technology today, I do use Google Docs, because I could take my phone anywhere if I want to change it. My artist lives in my hometown of El Paso, Texas, and sometimes I need to look at the art on the Google Docs. So I will say that, again, another advantage with technology. I'm used to the old pen and paper. That's probably the best way I have written historically, but I've learned to change it to using Google Docs because I have so many things I manage within the company and our growth that I can't possibly carry notepads around everywhere.
No, I hear you 100%. I have Google Docs everywhere. I have our spreadsheets of the donations, the recipients, the collections, the shipping addresses. It's really a wonder. I love, Lisa, that you bring in personal inspiration into your books and kind of tuck them into these hidden messages. I think that's so beautiful. I like to end our interviews with this on-the-spot question. If you could think of one children's book quote that you've read along the way, now it could be you read it as a mother, it could be you read it as a child, that you feel really inspires you.
Well, I'll tell you a quote that it's in my book, Skip a Step, which is written for the teenage mind. It's by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and I say this one all the time, and I say it slow because it's so meaningful. I hope you live a life you're proud of. I hope you live a life that's true. And if you're not, I hope you have the courage to start over again.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful because, you know, we only have one shot at this and we have to make the most of it. And your story and Unicorn Jazz and her journey really shows us the power of kindness, believing in yourself, giving, and really love, most importantly. Lisa, tell us a little bit about where our viewers can find you on social media.
Yes. You can go to unicornjazz.com. Very easy. All social media platforms. We're on YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And we do make it a point. I have a small team, but I actually look at it every single day, and I connect a lot of times live with people like you and I did. So that's an important part of social today, and that's not going to change. You have to reach out and do the ask, follow up, make the time to say, hey, can we chat for 5 to 10 minutes? Human to human, can we actually chat? So I think that's been one of my biggest secrets, I say, because a lot of people don't do that. That's been one of my nuggets of reaching more people.
I think certainly, even though technology, as you and I have spoken about, has really been wonderful for us, the interpersonal connection still is the basis of a relationship. And while you and I did connect through social media, we did then speak individually. And I think that's also very important for us to remember to teach our children. Yes, you have your cell phone and Facebook and TikTok and Twitter, but the connection needs to be true and sincere in order to develop that relationship.
Yes, and I always want to teach that. I want to teach a class about how to communicate in today's modern society and reaching the kids, because I always say there's someone cool that you want to talk to, that you would like to meet, and you follow them on their Instagram. And, you know, again, it just depends how, big they are per se. But there's a lot of times you can meet people more often than not. If you just say, hey, can find something that you can bring to them, and you never know who you can meet along the way.
I agree. Lisa, you are awesome. I'm so excited to collaborate more, learn more about you, read the new book.
I want to share this in our Facebook group, Books for Children. So if you're watching this, you're a children's author, and you want to grow with like-minded people like Leslie and myself and learn more and learn from other people, that's what Books for Children Collective is for.
I'm so excited. I'm so happy to be a part of that. So happy that we discovered your page and your group. And I can't wait to see what's going to be. So thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And please stay in touch. And I'm happy to support you and follow your amazing journey.